A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, Patricia and David, ZMH286, and I can report yet another glorious day. I almost feel embarrassed about these flat, calm days we are having in the middle of this anticyclone. Looking at the outside of the anticyclone with the winds racing around the centre, still very strong winds out there, 25 to 30 plus in some cases. So we do feel sorry for you people. You must be getting very, very weary because it is a bit, you don't mind a couple of days of those sorts of conditions, but when it's almost the entire passage, it gets a little bit tiring, doesn't it? But anyway, a lot of you have the end in sight, Pura Vida and Fusio and, well, Carlea. We should tell you that they have arrived, so that's good. I bet they're all either crashed out on the bed or in the bar. But anyway, it is good to get position reports, and if you need to send a WhatsApp, don't forget you can just send us a quick WhatsApp with your position and the conditions. It is very useful, folks, on passage, particularly when there's a lot of you, for people to hear what's ahead, because it just, especially the new folk, they do appreciate that. So take whatever means of communication you have, whether it's on streaming or whether it's radio, whether it's WhatsApp, and give us a report. I can tell you that here at the moment, 20 degrees, and it's May. Isn't that amazing? 20 degrees, no wind, boats are pointing east, 1030, and it's steady. And about 10 minutes ago, it was 35% cloud cover, but I think it's a bit more than that now, probably about almost 50% cloud cover. If you're wanting to send us anything on WhatsApp, it's +64, of course, for New Zealand, 21024730044. And thanks last night for Christine on Sugar Shack to tell us what was going on at Minerva. Well, I don't think there's anyone reporting in from sea at the moment, so David is going to be talking about passage windows in the future. So I'm sure there's a lot of people wanting to get away, but there's various philosophies on passages. Do you want to have a reasonable passage, or are you happy to tack to and fro with headwinds? Do you want it like this last one? Quite frankly, I wouldn't want it. Not at our age anyway. I know when we were leaving Puerto Vallarta one time, we left to cross the Pacific. There was a few boats left. Several turned back. It was very, very sporty. But we were younger then. I was only 50, and we didn't mind those sorts of conditions. We had a Hans Christian in those days, a very heavy seaworthy boat, and we knew it could cope with it, and we discovered that we could cope with it too. But that was then, and this is now, and I certainly wouldn't be wanting a passage that had 25 to 35 knots every single day. Just couldn't cope with it anymore. So it's not just the boat, it's not just the weather, it's how old you are, what you really want to do. And so there's still very strong winds out there. The passage isn't over until the fat lady sings, so you guys out there do take care. We haven't heard of any problems, so that's good. David's waiting to take the microphone off me, and I was going to give you a bit of world news, but I think what we'll do is start with him, and then we won't be fiddling and trying to grab the microphone, and I'll come back later.
I don't fiddle. All right, good evening to all of you. Well, yes, we've been getting questions about the next possible departure to the islands on Monday the 12th, apparently. Everybody's interested in that, Monday the 12th. At this time, I see a very weak trough crossing the tip of the North Island on that date, the 12th. This trough does make a turn to run up toward Fiji, but then it moves westerly over the next few days to link up with a very shallow depression that's near Norfolk Island. Now, by the 15th, 16th, thereabouts, most of you should be at 30 south, where EC calls for the depression that I just mentioned to actually move east and be centered at about 170 east. This causes the winds on Rumline to Fiji to back, Tonga as well. So they become northeasterlies. So there is nothing serious at this time, but just be prepared to do the dreaded tacking that Patricia just talked about. Now, by the 17th, the depression may sit just to the north of New Zealand, roughly around 33 south. But from 30 south to 25 south, a frontal band is evident, according to EC, with winds shifting southwest to northwest. So take note that the three basic models that we look at are not in agreement. This is EC, GFS, and Access, the Australian model. There's others, but those three are the usual ones that we all look at. So in our opinion, this passage, well, it's quite iffy, with headwinds, light to moderate, plenty of cloud, and possible squalls. So there you go. Things might change before Monday, so we will certainly keep looking. Now, for those of you in Minerva, winds do remain fresh to strong on Thursday. Isobars are definitely packed, so winds may be easterly 25 to 32 knots, which is what? That's a near gale, 32 knots. No point in attempting to make your break to Fiji or Tonga at this time. And for Fiji, satellite imagery confirms a weak trough with the usual cloud and showers throughout the country. Fiji Met's strong wind warning remains in force, with Thursday's forecast to 6 p.m. calls for southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, and Friday southeast 20 to 30 knots, with rough to very rough seas and a moderate southerly swell. And that is pretty much what I see. Oh, one other thing, for those of you that do look at satellite imagery, if you're using windy as an example, you can see the visual, you can see the IR, and there's one called blue. But if you look at the visual and look very carefully, you can see the open cumulus cells on the very bottom of the layer of clouds. And they all look like half of a donut, and they are basically going east to west in the direction of the wind. And this is very typical in a high pressure area when you do have cumulus clouds. The eastern part of them, the wind side, just gets blown away, and so it looks like a half a donut. And if you look carefully, you'll see all of that. And, well, that's interesting to me anyway. So that's it. And here is the chief.
All right, then while I'm giving a bit of news and calling for any boats at sea or hanging around New Zealand, we've got the query from Simon that came in on email before. What about the Saturday the 10th, coming up even earlier than the Monday? So you might want to just have a look at that and give your thoughts. Obviously, Andrew has got the chat working again. And I will just do a call. Is there anybody out there wanting to call in on the radio? No, nothing heard. And yeah, it's just a quick bit of news to keep you in touch with the world out there. Kilauea in Hawaii is erupting. Magnificent eruption, actually. Loads of lava pouring down. Looks very spectacular, particularly at the moment as it is dark. Closer to home, I suppose, is India have attacked Pakistan. You will recall in April the forces from Pakistan, although they say that they weren't, but anyway, they were from Pakistan, attacked the disputed India-controlled Kashmir region and killed about 26 people. So everyone was expecting a retaliation, and India last night fired several missiles into 6 locations and killed about 8 people, and basically gave the message that they weren't going to lie down and accept what Pakistan were doing. Now, if you're in America and you want to travel within America, you now need a Real Me. Now, a lot of us here in New Zealand have got our Real Me's. It's a bit of a hassle, needless to say. David hasn't bothered. But the Real Me is needed to travel by air or a passport. And of course, a lot of Americans don't have a passport because basically the world starts on the West Coast and finishes on the East Coast. So why would you need a passport? So there you go. If you've got nothing else to do, you can sort out your Real Me when you get to where you're going, or give you something to do before you go. But airlines in America are having a bit of a problem. Today there were 2 planes at San Francisco who clipped wings. So this was on the ground, mind you, thankfully, but that caused a bit of disturbance. And Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, what an intelligent guy. Boy, he can just flick from speaking English to French, which he did for a long interview after his very civil meeting with the President Donald Trump, where he confirmed, as all Canadians knew, that the country was not for sale. They didn't make any progress on the 25% tariff, but talking to Canadian friends, it's been actually quite a good thing to raise the tariff problem, because what I didn't know is that there are tariffs from one state of Canada. Do they call them states? No, provinces, don't they? From one province to another in Canada, there's evidently tariffs. So they are busy sorting all of those out at the moment so that they can talk with a combined voice. All right, getting back to the question, and that was, what about a Saturday the 10th departure?
Oh, well, that's interesting, yeah. Saturday the 10th. Well, I don't think it's that hot, to be honest with you. You're going to have a very good departure. Yeah, it's beautiful, nice southeast winds, all the way up to probably about maybe 33 south, like that. Then, depending upon what model you look at, you could run into some cyclonic winds. A little tiny depression twirls around, but with it are a bunch of clouds. And this is from ECMWF and the Access people in Australia. GFS does not quite agree with that. But anyway, on the other side of this little depression, let's see, we'll call it 30 south, and we'll call it 175, 175 east. The winds are going to come out of the northeast, just like I said earlier for the people that want to go Monday. So you have to be prepared to do some tacking to deal with that situation. And then by the 12th, the winds do shift. They look like they'll become easterlies at that point on the 12th, and let's look at the 13th. And 13th even better, east-southeast on the way to Minerva. So it is doable on Saturday, but you do have a bit of a mess on the Sunday-Monday time frame. And then after you get through that, then a little bit of northeasterlies until finally you get some easterly quadrant winds. So yeah, it's doable. I wouldn't say it's nice, but sure, give it a shot. Let us know.
Well, they've got an X-boat. It's a 442, so anyone with an X-boat is a real hot-ship sailor, I think, to have an X-boat, so they probably would enjoy tacking to and fro. Okay, so that answers that question. Is there anybody out there wanting anything else? Please call. if there was anybody there, I'm going to need a relay. I heard something, but it could just be somebody out there in the wilderness. And I've just had a message from Devon that Pura Vida are doing well, and they're due in tomorrow night. So that's good. They'll be pretty tired folk, but I'm sure at least they're there. Okay, well, if there is nothing else from anybody, I will love and leave you. I know you'll all be looking at the models and deciding whether it's going to suit you guys or not. At least it's not atrocious like this last window has been in terms of pounding the boat and pounding the crew, but you do have to do a little bit more work. So, one final call. Oh, there is somebody there, but I am going to need a... Have you got high power on? I've got really no ability to understand. I know there is somebody there, but could somebody give me a relay, please? Just give your boat name a couple of times. Over. Well, they're obviously not copying me. So the boat that just called, you're very, very light. I don't know where you are, but it's very, very, very light copy. And that was the Kayo antenna. Maybe you're closer to me, so I'm just going to turn my radio up. Please call again. Over. Yeah, I got the over because I was trying to hear it on my other one. This is, sorry about this, but it definitely is not coming into my antenna on top of the roof here. And I really don't have you strong enough to pick up from the other antenna. Folk, I just need a bit of help here. Does anybody hear that vessel? No, nothing heard. Alrighty, I can't see anything else coming through. Send an email, ghradio@extra.co.nz. I'm just checking if there's anybody coming through on the email now, and there's nobody who's come through on my WhatsApp. So here's Simon again. And PredictWinds says it should take about 5 days to manoeuvre. Do you have any thoughts? Oh, that was the one that I told you about before. Okay, no problem there. All right, that's it from us, folks. If that boat can just look, and there is an article to have a look at on the website, ghradio.co.nz. Just have a look under the radio and communication section to see whether there is anything you can do to improve the transmit quality of your radio. Okay, cheers all. We'll be back tomorrow.